there were people who were living in the Americas at that time, and there's stuff that we have from them, but it's just like not as prevalent in the things that you would normally see. So it was just amazing to be places that were like so old and see things that were so old and have seen like so many years, you know. So I'm going to show you kind of like 3 things that were on my 3-day tour, and then I'll show you a couple pictures of Athens. So I went to Delphi, or we were pronounced Delphi, and it's like this, like I told you, it was an oracle, so it's where people would go to like get their fortunes told. And so the oracles were like these priests, and they were able to connect with Zeus. And the place was originally set because of like these like mysterious fumes that came out of the ground, and the people when they would sniff them would start to get visions and stuff. And so basically what kind of it turned out is that like everywhere around here is like geologically very active with like earthquakes and volcanoes and stuff. And so it was a place where like the earth was releasing fumes or whatever. And I can't remember what they were, but they like, well, they essentially kind of make people go crazy for a short amount of time. So like, you know, some of the oracles would like be sniffing these fumes, and they would like have seizures, and they would go crazy, and they'd have visions. And so that's kind of how it started. And because it became so important, they made a couple temples there, one to Apollo and one to Athena. And I've learned so much about Greek mythology. I didn't really know a lot beforehand, but it's fascinating. And I need like a family tree because I can't figure any of it out. Like,
we got you.
Like Zeus, man, he
got around.
Yes, he did. It's like everybody was a child of Zeus somehow. So anyway, I went to Delphi, and it was really cool. So I'll show you some pictures there. And then we went to Olympia, which was where the Olympics were, and those were dedicated to Zeus. And then we went to this amazing theater in Epidaurus. That the acoustics were just fascinating how they did it. So this is what's left of the temple to Apollo. So this is at Delphi, and on the left-hand side where you see all those columns that remain, that would be where people would sacrifice whatever they brought with them, or lay whatever the things they were that they brought for the gods. And I learned the reason that we find like so many, like there's been so many like swords and shields and knives and things like that made of bronze. And the reason we find so many of those is because people would bring those to these shrines as like gifts to the gods, especially after like a successful military campaign. They would bring 10% of the weapons that they had to these shrines. And so then they got buried, and then we find them, right? So they're just like, it's like a very condensed area of weapons that we wouldn't be able to find like just out on a battlefield somewhere. So anyway, where those pillars are is where you'd have the sacrifice, or where you give what you were bringing, and then you would kind of walk up into the middle of this building, and that's where the oracles would be. And they would tell you, or your city-state's, you know, fortune and what was going to happen, and give you advice. And oftentimes they were very like cryptic, and people had to kind of figure them out. So I can't remember what the battle was, but some city-state, might have been Athens, like came and got their oracle, and something was like, it was like they were going to be saved by wood, or look to the wood, or something like that. And they didn't know what that meant, but what they ended up doing was like building a bigger fleet of ships made out of wood, and they ended up winning this very important military campaign. And I can't remember the details, but like they were often kind of like shrouded in mystery, and you kind of had to figure it out as you went along. But anyway, this was built to Apollo way long time ago, and so this is kind of the look from there. This is the same place, but looking a little bit closer down, and you can see just past all the pillars the things that it kind of look like Legos back there, or bricks. that was the altar. That was the sacrificial altar where you would sacrifice. Like if you were sacrificing an animal to the gods, that's where you would do it. So this was the treasury. So different in all these different places, city states or rich people sometimes would build what were called treasuries. And they were these temples that would mark important things that had happened in their history. So like usually something good, right? You're not going to build a temple with something terrible. So this one was built by Athens, and this one was built after they had the famous Battle of Marathon, when they won at Marathon. The guy ran all the way back to Athens and told them that they won, and then he dropped dead. So this is the Athens Marathon treasury. This one has been rebuilt, so you can see like the different colors. Like the white stuff is like the new stuff, and then the darker color is the original stuff. So they actually rebuilt this one. Most of the others, you just have like a foundation of where it was. But as a runner, I had to take a picture of it because I thought it was kind of neat. And then this was a monument to Athena. So Apollo and Athena, I believe, are brother and sister. And like this is down below at the same place. This is at Delphi. So the thing to Apollo is up further in the hills, and then this is kind of down below. And again, the white stuff is things that they remade, and then the darker color are the parts that are original. So, and then of course I had to get my picture taken. What's that, Riley?
Are you thinking like Artemis, or is it like straight up Athena?
It's Artemis.
No, it's straight up Athena.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's his sister.
Straight up Athena. That's the technical term.
Yes.
Because Athena was born out of Zeus's head.
Where does arms go?
This guy's gonna have trouble playing tennis. That's for sure. So this is a pretty famous statue from what I'm told. And this is actually an original. So they found this like in the 1800s. And I think he was a messenger from Zeus, and he was like carrying a baby somewhere. I can't remember the story. I think he was carrying, I think Zeus had an affair, shocking as that may be, and had a child. And then Zeus's wife found out, and she didn't like that. And so then this baby was taken somewhere safe, and then was raised by another king somewhere. I don't know. I got to brush up on my Greek mythology. Does anybody know the story to this one?
Oh, it's Perseus.
I think it's Chris.
I think you're thinking
sounds like
Perseus. There's a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's probably like
Kid over
several
900
stories like
kids.
that.
So.
Yeah. Just like, he must have a hard time keeping birthdays straight. You know, like Zeus must just spend all his spare time writing birthday cards to his kids, because I don't know how else he keep up. This is an original one. It's not like so a lot of statues that they have are like remakes that the Romans made. So the Romans, you know, when they took over Greece, they would remake Greek statues from, you know, 700 years earlier. Whereas this one is an actual one that was made when Greece was Greece and not Greece run by the Roman. So then at Olympia, this is the spot where they lit the torch for the Olympic Games, and this is also the spot where every time we have a modern Olympics, this is where the torch starts. So like I think the next Olympics are going to be in Rio. So the torch will start right here, and they actually still use like sun to start it. They like use like, you know, like a shiny, like a mirror kind of thing to start the flame. And it starts here, and then it travels from this spot all the way to Athens. And then from Athens, it makes its way, you know, usually around the world, and ends up wherever the Olympic Games are going to be. So this is the spot where it still happens. So that was really kind of neat to be there. And then this is where the ancient Olympic Games were held. So this used to be a tunnel. So the arch would have been a full tunnel. So just like, you know, you're coming out onto the field in the Superdome or whatever. Same idea. The green in the back, and I think the next picture I have is of the actual stadium, but this is where the athletes would enter. And you can see on the left-hand side, there's like all these kind of like rectangular boxes or platforms, and that's where they would have statues of the people who cheated. So I want to say there were like, yeah, there were like 24 or 25 like cases of ancient Olympic cheaters, and if you cheated, you obviously there was like a whole bunch of punishments like banishment and the whole 9 yards. But then your statue would be put here, and then people who were athletes would walk past them when they went in to do their game, and the idea being that they didn't want to cheat because it's a very dubious distinction, right? So this was like a reminder to not cheat.
Don't dope.
And yeah, don't dope, people. And so this is the actual stadium. So the that white thing down there would be the starting and finishing line, and there were no seats. So it's basically just a great big hill, like it was like you sit on the edge of the hill and look down. And this is where the Olympic Games would be held. And unlike like at our track where you run around in a circle, right? Here you run back and forth, kind of like doing suicides. And then at the finish start line, if you had more than one out and back, you would like run around a post and then run down the length and then come back. So it wasn't like a big circle. It was an out and back type thing. And only men went to the Olympic Games. Like only men watched. And I asked my guide, and I didn't really get a very good answer as to why that was. But this is where the Olympics would happen. Like the long jump, all that kind of stuff would be here. And then the person would be crowned kind of on the right side of the picture, right where you see the people coming out of the tunnel. There's like a platform, and that's where the guy would be crowned.
It's really like casual.
And then this is the ruins of the Palamade. So this is basically like the wrestling rooms where athletes would train before they were going to go in and actually do their events. This was like their training room. So those pillars would hold up kind of the ceiling. And there used to be like rooms for learning in here, and like rooms just for like you'd lather up before you go fight, and then afterwards you put on like some special stuff. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And then this is the stairs that led up to the temple of Zeus. So the Olympics were all about Zeus. And there's apparently some guy out here revving his engine. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can rent like ATVs and drive them all over the island, and you can also rent like cars, but everything's a stick shift. So I've seen several people who have no idea how to drive a stick shift, and they're trying to learn in like these little tiny alleys, and it's not a good mix. Anyway, so these are the stairs that lead up to the Temple of Zeus at the Olympic Games. So up at the top there is where they would do the sacrifice, and then they would go in there and stuff. And so this was kind of like the center of things in Greece, because it had the huge temple to Zeus, right? And so this is actually called a navel stone, and these were found at the top of the pillars in many of the places in Olympia, and it's supposed to represent like the connection to Mother Earth, and it's called the navel stone because the design on there is supposed to represent an umbilical cord, because this is what connects all humans back to Mother Earth. And so at the top of all their pillars, they would have these things called navel stones, and it was to remind them that they're all part of Earth. And then this is this amazing amphitheater, and I don't know exactly how they did it, but the acoustics are fantastic. So right down in the middle of that circle is where people would perform, and someone could like talk like in a normal voice, and you could completely hear what they were saying up where this picture is being taken. It was really, truly unbelievable. And one of the people on my tour was an opera singer from New York City. And so she stood in the middle and she started to sing like opera, and it was unbelievable what it sounded like. Then she got told she had to stop. They're very, they like pulled her off with the big hook, you know, like whoop, off the stage. But they're very protective here of like, so I don't quite understand why they wouldn't let her sing. Like you could stand there and clap and talk, but you couldn't sing. But like posed by the statues and all that kind of stuff. And they have like these whistles they blow and whatever. Anyway, it was amazing. So her voice was amazing, but then inside this place, like it's better acoustics than places, you know,
Even the
where you go to watch a concert right now. So, and then we've got to go to your lockdown. So this is the view of walking into the Acropolis. This would have been the main gate. Over on the right is the Athena Nike, so the Nike to Victory, and that's for Athena, which was, you know, the kind of the patron saint of Athens. And you would then walk through that main kind of gate, which would take you, this is the Nike again, then it would take you to the Parthenon, right? Which was built for Athena again. And this is what kind of overlooks all of Athens. And they're under a huge remodeling or fixing of the whole thing. It's like one of those never-ending things. So they started on the end, you can see, and then they're moving down to the other end, and then they'll be coming back. So it's like a constant fixer-upper. So it was just much bigger than I thought it was going to be. And as you can see, swarming with people. So we gotta stop sharing and go back to you guys. Can you see me?
Yeah.
We got you.
Oh, Jocelyn.